If you're planning skincare treatments this summer, stop and watch this video before you book anything. I'm Dr. Karam, board certified facial plastic surgeon. I'm also the founder and creator of Karam MD Skin. I specialize in facial rejuvenation, which basically means I help people look as young as they feel. When summer rolls around, a lot of people are motivated to actually get a head start on their skin rejuvenation goals and anti-aging goals. But if you're not careful, summer sun and certain treatments can be a very, very bad mix. All right, so let's talk about things that you need to avoid when it comes to treatments and things that you shouldn't avoid. Also, we're gonna talk about what treatments you can and should have during the summer. And if you like this type of content and you wanna see more of it, make sure you subscribe at the bell. All right, let's get into it. The first treatment that I do not recommend getting during the summertime is IPL or BBL. And for the sake of conversation, I'm gonna refer to everything as IPL. BBL is just a different name brand by Sciton, but effectively the same. It stands for intense pulse light. So what is IPL? It's not a laser, but it's a frequency of light that directly affects pigments, both brown pigments from sun damage and sunspots, as well as red pigments from vascular changes, so those red spider veins that you get. It's an effective treatment that helps with brown spots and red spots. Typical treatments are done in a series. You usually are gonna do 3 to 5 treatments back to back in the beginning, typically about every 4 weeks, and then you go on to maintaining those changes every 3 to 4 months. But you have to be cautious in the summer. People are motivated to do more things during the summer because they wanna look their best in bathing suits, on vacations, etc. So getting rid of some of those brown spots on their face, as well as improving some of the red discoloration on the face, as well as on the body. Spider veins and different changes in pigment in the body can be an important motivator. There's a natural desire to address those changes with IPL. However, here is why it's a bad idea to get it done in the summer. IPL requires actually that you avoid sun for several weeks before you get the IPL and for several weeks afterwards. So summertime lifestyle makes it very hard to achieve that. In our practice, we turn people away when we take their intake history and evaluation and they tell us that they've been coming back from a vacation or they're in and out of the sun a lot. We actually have to change their appointment date to a later time when they can actually avoid sun. So it's a key and critical part of success after IPL because sun can worsen the impact of the IPL and actually make the brown spots worse, or worse yet, can actually lead to burns to the skin. So it is a non-negotiable that your skin needs to be free from direct sun exposure before an IPL. Now, of course, if you're still motivated to get it done in the summer, well, you can. You just have to apply these rules. Avoid the sun for several weeks before, for several weeks after. Don't go into getting direct sunlight if you know you're getting an IPL. And if you can do that, you can get it done safely. It's just a matter of convenience for a lot of people during summer that can't happen. And a natural consideration for you and people that get IPL in our practice is that we just recommend you wait till the fall when you're not so busy and have so many outdoor activities. The next treatment I do not recommend getting done during the summertime are chemical peels, especially the more aggressive type of peel. And I'm gonna make a differentiation there in a moment. For those of you who wanna get more information about chemical peels, the different types, make sure you watch our recent video. But in a nutshell, a chemical peel exfoliates and removes the upper layers of the skin. And there's different depths that can be done. There's superficial, medium, and deep. Anything from the medium to deep position, strongly recommend avoiding during the summer. It's a bad idea simply because, number one, the extended downtime that can be a result of these medium or deeper chemical peels can put you out for quite a while. Downtime can range anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, so you have to take that into consideration. Secondly, just like IPL, getting sun exposure when the skin is raw and healing is a terrible idea because it can lead to problems with pigmentation. It could lead to prolonged healing. It's just, you want that skin to be healing in the best environment with an occlusive dressing and staying out of the sun. Another consideration and a recommendation that I can make for you is that if you want to get some exfoliation and improve your skin, and get a chemical peel, go for the superficial or light varieties. These can be done in your esthetician's office and practice, and they usually don't have much of a downtime. And as a result, you can get them done in a series and still get a lovely result during the summer. But even with the lighter chemical peels, especially during a few days afterwards, you certainly have to be aware of sun exposure. But you can get to a place where you can put sunscreen on much faster, put a hat on, etc., and still be safe. Way better option for summertime than a medium depth TCA Jesner's chemical peel. If you really want to get a chemical peel, a medium depth chemical peel like a TCA Jesner's chemical peel, by all means do so, but understand that you need to be prepared for the downtime and prepared for the sun avoidance during that period of time. And for those of you who may want to do something at home and do it continuously throughout the summer, using an exfoliator like Polish, which is enzymatic and is not harsh on the skin, by Karam MD, this is also a year-round type of an exfoliating treatment that you can do safely no matter what season it is. The next treatment I strongly recommend not getting done during the summertime are lasers, especially deep resurfacing lasers. So what are resurfacing lasers? Well, these are lasers that use CO2 or erbium YAG to remove the surface of the skin. And just like a chemical peel, it leaves the skin looking raw. In fact, there's also fractionated versions of these lasers which also have a significant downtime, which should also be avoided. Popular brand names are Contour TRL, Fraxel, Halo, and Cyton's micro laser peel. The issue with lasers and chemical peels during the recovery phase is that these prolonged periods of inflammation that it takes to heal can be exacerbated by sun exposure, and that can lead to post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So you went through this whole thing to look better, and then you end up with more brown spots and discoloration that's going to take 3 to 6 months of intense treatment just to get it to calm down again. So ultimately, the decision is yours naturally for all these treatments, but whether you're getting a treatment or not, you must wear sunscreen. This is a non-negotiable. As you know, I'm very big on this. And this becomes especially important because your sun exposure time is going to be greater in the summer as the days are longer, you're taking up the activities that you couldn't do during the winter. And this is why it's really important that you use an effective sunscreen. And what are the qualities of an effective sunscreen? I like mineral-based zinc or titanium oxide. I like them to be waterproof. I like them obviously to be broad spectrum, which they are if you're using a zinc or titanium. I also like them to have an SPF of 30 to 50 in that range. In addition, sun protective clothing is also really important. Wear a hat, wear glasses, and if you're really wanting to take it to the next level, you can even wear a sun protective face mask if you're gonna be in sun a lot and you don't totally care about how you're presenting in that situation. And finally, anytime you can, find shade. You know, if you're having lunch outside, have it in the shade. If you're resting or doing something in the sun, use shade. Generally speaking, you want to avoid sun as much as possible because if you're serious about skin anti-aging and you're doing all these treatments, then the sun, being the greatest accelerator of skin aging, you're basically sabotaging your results and your progress. Treatments or no treatments, skin anti-aging starts with sun protection and daily skincare. And by the way, you do not need to stop your active anti-aging skincare routine just because it's summertime. So we're gonna talk about some myths that I think we need to dispel. So there's a lot of misinformation about skincare in the summer. So sunscreen is a non-negotiable. But what about actives like retinol, vitamin C, these heavy-duty, multitasking, powerful things that are changing your skin on a regular basis? There's so much information about this that I see that advise people to avoid them during the summer times because the sun somehow is going to make things worse on their skin and it's too harsh, etc. I could not disagree more. However, I'm going to qualify this by simply saying that not all retinols and vitamin C are totally safe to use either in combination or during the summer because some of them are, in concentration-wise, too heavy and makes you a little bit more susceptible to sunburns and irritation and all these other things. Now, doesn't mean you should stop them. If you are on a retinol or a vitamin C, you might just want to reduce the frequency a little bit, but even better yet, use a brand that allows you to use it year-round, because using actives on a daily basis is how your skin is going to make progress. Taking 3 to 4 months out of the year to avoid it is a terrible mistake. So when I formulated the trifecta, the Karam MD trifecta, I made sure that we use a safe retinol that can be used year-round. It's slow, time-released, used AM and PM, and as a result, this microdosing and using it in that type of frequency doesn't overwhelm the skin. Same goes for the vitamin C that we have in Quench. So between Illuminate's retinol and all the other actives in there and Quench's formulation, the trifecta allows you to stay on it year-round, which allows you to constantly make progress no matter what the environmental conditions are. And if you want a bit more information about it, make sure you check out karammdskin.com. There's lots of good information and over 10,000 people using it on a daily basis. And if you're still uncertain about certain ingredients, make sure you check out the Karam MD Journal. It's a free newsletter that comes to your email. In the journal, we break down ingredients as well as talk about myths and just overall how to use best practices in getting the most out of skincare. So now let's talk about skin treatments that I do recommend and I believe are safe for you to do during the summer. So if you're looking for a treatment that you can do on top of your daily skincare routine, which is sun protection and the use of these daily actives like there are in the trifecta, consider HydraFacials or facials. So facials or HydraFacials are basically where you go in and an esthetician will use either a device or their hand or certain products to cleanse the skin, remove sebum and blackheads, and overall make the skin appear smoother and softer, more hydrated. These type of procedures become especially important during the summer because you're sweating more, you're putting on more sunscreen, skin is being exposed to much more, so proper cleansing and exfoliation become a very, very nice addition to your daily skincare. And why it's a good idea to do during the summer, in addition to the things that I just mentioned, is that it's totally safe and it doesn't expose you to the things that we just talked about in terms of sun exposure and downtime, because there's essentially no downtime with a facial or a HydraFacial. But like everything else, make sure you talk to your esthetician to get their programming of what type of aftercare measures you need to take, because still they may ask you to stay out of the sun for a little bit and have very specific aftercare routines that you need to adhere to. So don't just take my word for it. Make sure you talk to your esthetician in terms of selecting the type of facial that you'll be getting. Another excellent option for summertime to consider is microneedling. Now, this is one of my wife's favorite additional treatments that she gets. Every 6 to 8 weeks or so, she goes in for microneedling. In her case, she uses it primarily on her neck, but you can use it, and I strongly recommend using face and neck when you get it done. And what is microneedling? Microneedling is where you use a device in a medical office or an esthetician's practice, and the device pokes tiny little needles into the skin, creating microtrauma, and that microtrauma stimulates collagen, which ultimately helps thicken the skin and help with fine lines and wrinkles. It's one of those treatments that naturally you want to do on a consistent basis to get these changes improving and momentum building. Just as we talked about with skincare, you want to see progress over time. It's not a start and stop type of situation. But microneedling is, sometimes it's a nice thing to be able to do for yourself to plump up the skin and look better, again, for all the things that we just talked about, and not have to worry too much about downtime. And because there's not a significant downtime, usually about a day, maybe 2 days of a little bit of redness, it's a good idea to get during the summer. And it's generally speaking very safe. But like anything that causes some inflammation or redness in the skin, you certainly want to nurture it afterwards. So keep the sun off of it until the redness goes away, and then you can use your sunscreen. In addition, using a barrier balm, in this case, I strongly recommend the Enrich Barrier Balm because it's not as messy and it's loaded with plant oils and a number of other anti-inflammatories that can be used instead of things like Aquaphor or Vaseline that help protect the skin and speed up healing. But again, talk to your specific practitioner to make sure that you're adhering to their recommendations. Now, a quick note on microneedling. There are different types. Standard microneedling, which is I'm advocating here for summer, and then there's radiofrequency microneedling. I don't recommend getting that during the summer because there's a greater downtime associated with it. Leave that to the fall. Now there's also PRP or stem cells and these other things that you can add to it. That's totally fine. You can do a microneedling with PRP during the summer just as safely as you can doing a standard. It's just the energy component that I would suggest hold off on, unless again, you make accommodations and modifications to your lifestyle and avoid the sun during the healing phases. So there's no reason to avoid the progress that you're making on your skincare anti-aging journey just because it's summer. But avoiding the wrong procedures, going into them naively, and doing the things that could actually make things worse, and stopping the things that are actually making your skin better, like actives and certain other types of treatments, would be a mistake. This is not the time to put your skin through that type of trauma and force yourself into a situation where you have to be very, very diligent with the recovery, or really take time out of that precious summer months to recover from this type of a treatment. You just need to plan for it and make some wise decisions. Make sure you respect the downtime, make sure you respect the sun exposure, and talk to your practitioner and get a detailed, advanced expectations of what you need to be doing for your part to recover the best you can and get the best out of your treatment. But ultimately, if there is an opportunity for you to postpone it to the cooler months with lower UV index, I would suggest that, fall, winter, etc. So it makes it a lot easier. My goal with this video is to help you stay on track and continue to make progress throughout the entire year, especially in the summer. And I hope this video gave you that perspective and how you can plan for these things. Thanks again for watching. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you want more information about this topic, check out the link below for the Karam MD Journal article that supports and gives you a little bit more in-depth knowledge about this. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like. Any questions or comments you have, please drop them below. I love to answer as many of them as I possibly can. We're a community, we're here to serve and help each other. And make sure you share this and send it with some friends and family. Help them make the best decisions possible. And until next time, Dr. Amir Karam.